Tonight, we're on Parliament Hill. Who will form the next government? The campaign begins. The leaders, the polls, and the issues that matter to you.
Honest politician.
Equality.
Stop spending money frivolously.
Extensive coverage, including At Issue.
Also tonight, Alberta's medical examiner under fire. Why are dead bodies being stored in a trailer?
That is terrible.
Crowded classrooms. How many kids is too many?
There's 40 kids in my class.
And Bianca's return.
There's really no place like home.
Back in Canada, an international star. This is The National. Well, it's finally here. The federal election campaign is now officially underway. Party leaders have hit the road trying to earn your vote, and they've got 40 days to do it. Rosie is leading our election coverage.
I'm here on Parliament Hill. Behind me, West Block, where the House of Commons is currently located. Inside, the seats that candidates across Canada are vying for, 338 up for grabs, and of course, the job of Prime Minister. We have lots of coverage on this busy day one. Party leaders have fanned out across the country to try to get their messages through to you. But other issues, like the SNC-Lavalin affair, got in the way a little bit. It all began when Justin Trudeau paid a visit to Rideau Hall this morning. Justin Trudeau walked with his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, to Rideau Hall to meet with Governor General Julie Payette. Inside, he asked her to dissolve Parliament, formally triggering the election campaign. The party leaders were ready with their messages for the next almost 6 weeks and their questions for Canadians.
Who can you trust to help you and your family to get ahead?
Who can you count on to fight for you?
Qui va être fidèle à ce que nous sommes?
We get to decide what kind of future we want to build together.
Let's have a real discussion about all the issues that are important.
This is the most important election in Canadian history.
Every step of this campaign, we will be there with you and for you, making sure you have the information you need to make a decision on voting day. Starting with how today's plan veered off track for some of the party leaders as they tried to set the tone for their campaign. Salima Shivji begins our coverage tonight.
On a day the Liberal leader wanted to make his pitch to Canadians,
You deserve a real plan for your future.
Justin Trudeau was quickly forced to play defense. With the SNC-Lavalin affair back in the headlines, a report in the Globe and Mail that the RCMP, in asking more questions into possible charges, has been blocked by cabinet confidence. Trudeau kept his answers short.
We gave out the largest and most expansive waiver of cabinet confidence in Canada's history.
And late tonight, another report that RCMP investigators met with former Justice Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould just yesterday. This morning's news, a gift to the Conservatives who hastily set up a mic.
What today shows is that you just cannot trust Justin Trudeau.
Andrew Scheer calculated that even in Quebec, where the company is headquartered, it was worth it to stay on the attack.
Justin Trudeau must allow the RCMP to do its job.
But venturing into Quebec brings its own perils. Scheer was forced to explain where he stands on the province's popular law that bans public sector workers like teachers and police officers from wearing religious symbols.
Do you believe it infringes on religious rights?
As I said, I would never proceed with this at the federal level.
On the topic, one the leaders prefer to avoid, Trudeau also walked a fine line on whether Ottawa should intervene.
And at this time, I feel it would be counterproductive for the federal government to engage in this process.
While Quebec's premier had this to say.
I want them to stay out of it forever.
All of this taking away from what both the Liberals and the Tories wanted to focus on, the economy and how to capture seats from a weakened NDP. Its leader was trying to talk about affordable housing and medication, but was instead peppered with questions about his party's state, which he answered like this.
We've got candidates across this country. We're confident people will see us as their real champion.
The leaders are likely hoping tomorrow will afford more opportunities to stay on track, and it's only day one of 40. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Ottawa.
That reported meeting between the RCMP and Wilson Raybould will likely mean more questions for the Prime Minister tomorrow. Vashi Kapela's host of Power and Politics is here with me on Parliament Hill. Spent much of the day together. This came up late tonight. Probably not the way you want to start a campaign.
No, probably not. The Liberals had a very specific message they wanted to get across today. Choose us, not them. Those guys, the Conservatives, they're going to be cutting services for you, things along those lines. They didn't want to wake up talking about SNC, and they certainly don't want to go to bed talking about SNC and then wake up tomorrow talking about it as well. The specter of an RCMP investigation, though it's not an investigation, just the specter of the RCMP being associated with this is not going to make their life easier during this campaign. Andrew Scheer is talking about how you shouldn't trust Justin Trudeau, how his integrity is in question. What this allows Scheer to do is sort of underscore that point by attaching the RCMP to those claims and dig a little deeper along the way. It's not going to end the campaign for the Liberals by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly will affect things.
Yeah, hard to see if it will redo what it did in the spring in terms of public opinion polls. All right, Vashi, good to see you. I'm sure I'll see you again very soon. By tonight, Trudeau, Scheer, and Singh are all in different cities from where they started the day. Our reporters are on the road and in the air with the leaders.
I'm David Cochran on board the Liberal campaign plane as we head west to British Columbia, one of the most important yet unpredictable battlegrounds in this election. The Liberals, the Conservatives, the New Democrats, and the Greens are all in play in BC. And tonight, Justin Trudeau will headline a major Liberal rally in an NDP-held seat as the Liberals see their best chance for gains comes at the expense of New Democrats.
I'm Katie Simpson in Vaughan, Ontario, just north of Toronto. Andrew Scheer is spending time here because this is a middle-class suburban community where the cost of living is shooting up. Scheer thinks that his message, that a Conservative government will leave more money in your pocket, will resonate with voters who live in communities just like this. Strategically, Scheer needs to pick up seats in this vote-rich part of the province if he's going to have any shot at winning a majority government. And that same strategy is why Scheer started today in Quebec. He's going on the offensive, trying to make big gains in both provinces in the hopes of taking Justin Trudeau's job.
I'm Hannah Thibodeau in Mississauga, Ontario, that's near Toronto, where NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is now hunkering down for debate prep. While the other leaders are flying about, Singh started his bus tour in London, Ontario. The NDP's limited war chest will keep Singh's team on the ground for the first couple of weeks with only one official campaign bus, and the plane will only take off towards the end of the campaign. The party is struggling to get a full slate of candidates with over 100 still to be nominated. But Singh says he can show Canadians he is the viable alternative to the front runners, the Liberals and the Conservatives. Many polls suggest he is in a tight race for third place, with Elizabeth May's Green Party nipping at the NDP's heels.
And the Greens are hoping to capitalize on those strong numbers in public opinion polls. May kicked off her campaign in Victoria today, arguing that the status quo hurts efforts to fight climate change.
It's time for every so-called leader of every party to join us and accept the targets that are driven by science, not by politics.
The Green Party has some momentum after strong provincial performances, and they have a goal to win the 12 seats needed to gain official party status. Former Harper Cabinet Minister Maxime Bernier is making his debut as a party leader in this election. His People's Party of Canada is focusing today on immigration policy.
And we're the only party with a proposal with fewer immigrants.
And Yves-François Blanchet launched the Bloc Québécois campaign in Quebec City. The party is looking to bounce back after failing to win official party status in the last 2 elections. So on this day 1 of the campaign, where do the parties stand? Eric Grenier is CBC's poll analyst. Eric, for two parties, this race has started off in a very, very tight, very close way.
Yeah, pretty much as tight as it can get. Let's look at those numbers nationwide in the poll tracker. We have the Liberals and the Conservatives tied at 34% apiece. We have the New Democrats. They're trailing right now in third at 13%. Not too far behind is the Greens at just 11%, the Bloc Québécois at 4%, about 19% in Quebec, and 3% for the People's Party. So a very close race on day 1 of the campaign for first place, and also a close race for third.
Okay, obviously, though, those numbers don't always translate into seat numbers because it does depend on where you have that support. What are the polls projecting there?
Well, yeah, let's take a look at the seat projection from the poll tracker. Because the Liberals have a lead in Quebec, in Ontario, whereas the Conservatives are running up numbers in Alberta and the Prairies, the Liberals are favored in the seat count right now. Project them to win somewhere around 165 seats, maybe around 140 for the Conservatives. But you can see that the ranges overlap quite a bit and that both parties theoretically could get over the majority mark. Look at the other end of the line, though. Bloc Québécois and the New Democrats, they're actually in the running for that third spot in the House of Commons. And the Greens, they could win a couple more seats. They ended the parliament with 2. They might want to double that.
Okay, so anyone's guess how this is going to end at this point, I guess, Eric.
Yeah, it is a toss-up, but right now you'd have to give a small edge to the Liberals because of how their vote breaks down across the country.
Okay, Eric, I'll never get tired of those graphics. Thanks for being here tonight. Talk again soon.
Thanks.
We have much more campaign coverage ahead for you tonight because, after all, this election does come down to you.
Voting is a privilege.
I'm feeling ecstatic, but I also feel a little bit concerned.
The voters' chair is hitting the road. Tonight, we're in the 905, that key battleground around Toronto. We're asking what matters most to you in this election.
Minimum wage. Good, honest politicians.
Our children.
And what should you be watching for in week 1 of the campaign? We'll have a special edition of At Issue. Lots more still to come later in the hour. Until then, back to Toronto.
Well, let's go now to an exclusive story. Alberta's Justice Department launched an investigation today after CBC News exposed how bodies of the deceased are being treated in Edmonton. Charles Rusnell begins our story with the disturbing video that made the government act.
17 bodies sheathed in white bags line the floor of a refrigerated semi-trailer parked near a busy Edmonton street. As our camera rolls, a funeral home employee drags one of the bodies along the floor, then tugs it to a waiting gurney.
That is terrible.
This professor studies death and dying. This treatment of bodies, he says, is in sharp contrast to what he witnessed over the years as he took students on tours of the medical examiner's office.
So this is unconscionable. As I say, it suggests that the office is underfunded and understaffed because there is a long history of a culture of care, as I've emphasized, and there's no reason for that to be compromised.
CBC News has learned the medical examiner's office took the unusual step of renting the trailer because it ran out of space. Internal emails show staff raised concerns with the chief medical examiner, Dr. Elizabeth Brooks Lim. Last week, an employee told her, "I feel that this might not be something that families will find acceptable. How do I approach this when speaking to families?" She responded, "The floor is clean, the bodies will be in body bags, and the families do not need to be informed of the storage procedures." Late today, Alberta Justice said, "First and foremost, we extend our apologies to all families who entrust their loved ones to us." A contingency plan was implemented late last week to manage an unusually high number of new death cases. The department said steps are being taken to ensure dignity and respect, but the opposition NDP said more needs to be done.
Who authorized this decision? Why did they not listen to the concerns that were raised by staff in the office who identified that this would be something that would be considered a real indignity by families and other people involved in the system?
Shepherd also called on the government of Premier Jason Kenney to, if necessary, increase funding to ensure the dead in Alberta are never again treated this way. Charles Rusnell, CBC News, Edmonton.
A Quebec judge has struck down part of the laws that govern assisted dying because they're too restrictive. As Alison Northcott tells us, the impact could be felt across the country.
Simple things like moving around her apartment or taking a single breath have become so difficult for Nicole Gladue.
I'm trying to live without hope, but at the same time, trying to avoid the desperation.
Gladue is one of the plaintiffs who challenged the Quebec and Canadian laws on medical assistance in dying. She has post-polio syndrome and scoliosis. In an interview last month, she said she didn't qualify for an assisted death because her natural death is not reasonably foreseeable, as the federal law stipulates.
This is undefinable.
Today's ruling found parts of both laws are unconstitutional, that requiring a person be near the end of their life violates the plaintiff's rights to liberty and security. The judge suspended her ruling for 6 months to give the governments time to change their laws.
This is a hike we went on.
Heather Ross's husband died in 2017. He had a severe form of Parkinson's, but had to fight to access medical aid in dying because his death wasn't imminent.
I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and I know my husband would be. He had asked me before he died to try and advocate, to try and change the law so that people don't suffer as much as he did.
The plaintiffs in this case didn't comment today, but their lawyer did.
They will see an end to their suffering. It is a new hope.
Others hope the governments appeal the ruling.
The whole purpose of the Quebec law and the federal law was to try and help people who are near death to have an easier death, not to have a death which would come at a very premature time.
Both governments say they will review the decision. For now, the ruling gives Truchon and Gladue an exemption so they can apply for assisted deaths immediately. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
And do stick around. We're back in 2 minutes with Ian and developing news, plus a tight squeeze in Ontario classrooms. Why students are concerned, it's a sign of what's to come. And later, she's back. Bianca Andreescu returns to Canada, and apparently she's texting with Drake. Welcome back. Let's get you to our national newsroom in Vancouver, where Ian is watching developing news for us tonight.
And Andrew, let's begin with the biggest story in the Maritimes. Tens of thousands of people still in the dark 4 days after Dorian pummeled the region.
We didn't expect this today. We thought we'd be up and running and booming business, but that's not the way it is today.
In Nova Scotia, where it is 10:18, more than 40,000 customers still without power, and there are thousands more on PEI and in New Brunswick. Officials hope to have power completely restored by this weekend. And we still don't know the magnitude of Dorian's impact in the Bahamas. Officials now say 2,500 people still considered missing more than a week after the storm made landfall.
This list has not yet been checked against government records of who is staying in shelters or who have been evacuated.
Dorian hit the Bahamas as a Category 5, bringing some of the highest wind speeds ever recorded. 50 deaths have been linked to the storm, but officials warn that likely will rise as the search continues. And Ontario's police watchdog is investigating after a man died. This was after Peel Regional Police used a stun gun on him. Police responding to a domestic call last night in Mississauga. They had what they're calling an interaction with the 34-year-old man. He collapsed and was rushed to hospital, where he later died. The province's Special Investigations Unit has taken over the investigation. A new safety warning about charging phones and other devices. I'll be back with that story in about 20 minutes.
Well, just days into the new school year, and Ontario's high school students are already feeling the squeeze. Some classrooms are more crowded than ever, and the fear is it could get even worse. Christine Burak explains why.
How many are too many?
There's 40 kids in my class.
It's kind of hard teaching 38 people. I couldn't do that. That's kind of tough.
Over the next 4 years, Ontario Premier Doug Ford is increasing class sizes for some elementary grades and all secondary schools, taking the number of high school students per class from 22 to an average of 28. All told, eliminating about 3,500 teachers and saving more than $850 million. But Canada's largest school board says packed classrooms in September isn't the problem.
That happens every single year. Again, though, it's too early to say if any of the provincial changes had any impact on that.
But the union representing Ontario high school teachers says overcrowding is just the beginning.
This is year one of a march towards a truly decimated public education system in Ontario.
Projections made by the Toronto District School Board paint a bleak picture. Fewer teachers means hundreds of high school courses are being cancelled, while others are continuing with larger class sizes.
For grade 12 chemistry lab, hands-on labs will be too dangerous given the number of students.
Parent Leanna Salvador Watt set up the hashtag #TrackTheCuts.
The common theme that we're hearing is it's chaotic, it's stressful for students and teachers and parents.
Leaving some students worried about what's coming next.
I can't take the courses that I want, as well as there's a lot more kids in my other classes. And it's hard for me to get help, and it's hard for me to focus.
The education minister wasn't available for an interview today, but the government's cuts are at the center of complex contract negotiations between various teachers, school boards, and the province. As it stands, many aren't optimistic that this school year will last without some sort of strike or lockout action. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
Meantime, class overcrowding is also a key issue for Ontario's elementary school teachers as they continue contract talks with the province. Today, their union upped the pressure, announcing plans for a strike vote. And time for a quick break. But when we come back, the leaders, of course, have hit the campaign trail, so we've called in At Issue for a special edition. Rosie's next with Andrew, Chantal, and Althea. And later, we take our voters' chair to Battleground, Ontario to find out what matters most to you this election.
Day one of the 2019 federal election campaign already coming to a close, and already some big issues have made their way to the top of the agenda. So who better to unpack the beginning of a 40-day stretch than At Issue? You're going to see them a lot. Chantal Hébert is in Montreal, Andrew Coyne is in Toronto, and Althea Raj is in Ottawa tonight. Let's start with some of the issues that dominated day one. Because of the Globe and Mail story about the RCMP looking into doing further talks or interviews with some of the people involved in the SNC-Lavalin affair. Let me show you a little bit of how Justin Trudeau responded to those questions today.
We gave out the largest and most expansive waiver of cabinet confidence in Canada's history.
That was all he said in response to a question about the waiver that he gave lifting cabinet confidentiality. Here's what Andrew Scheer had to say early this morning.
He has looked Canadians in the eye and said things that he knew was not true, and we made the case that he has lost the moral authority to govern.
This happens as the Globe and Mail reports that Jody Wilson-Raybould was interviewed by the RCMP just yesterday. Chantal, what do we make of the fact that this is just back in the headlines, that this is where we are starting day one of the campaign?
I think it forced everyone, but especially the Conservatives and the Liberals, off script in the sense that this isn't what they had prepared for. I don't believe the Conservatives plan to spend the bulk of any part of today on SNC-Lavalin because they felt that they had pushed that envelope as far as it could go. I still believe that that is the case, except that events do what they do. And I think for both of them, especially Mr. Trudeau, who wanted a clean launch and didn't get it out of it, it's a wasted campaign day.
And it's probably telling, Andrew, that I mean, part of the way Justin Trudeau was trying to shut it down was keeping those answers to a sentence when he was asked any question, in hopes that that would be the end of it. And presumably it would have, had we not been told this information by the Globe tonight.
Well, he never looks good when he's discussing this issue for whatever reason. And when you retreat into canned talking points and not particularly convincing ones, i.e., the clerk of the Privy Council made the decision when it is absolutely up to the Prime Minister if he chooses to waive that confidentiality requirement. When you've got the RCMP involved, I think we're in a little bit different situation than we might have been previously. If the RCMP is involved, it's because at least they think there's at least a possibility that a crime was committed. If there's a possibility that a crime was committed, surely to God, we would want to have all of the evidence available to the RCMP. Maybe it's exonerating everybody involved, but we would want to have all of the evidence involved. So the question now becomes, why on earth won't he allow that confidentiality requirement to be waived? And I don't think that issue is going to go away anytime soon, actually.
No, but it's unclear to me still at the end of this day, Althea, who it has to be waived for. Who it doesn't apply to, what more we need to understand. I mean, I have questions after today about how that applies, you know, and maybe I won't get the answers to those questions, but how do you think the day unfolded?
Well, I agree there's a lot of unanswered questions. Like, it's unclear what does Jody Wilson-Raybould or Jane Philpott want to say, because there are people quoted in the story that they are not able to talk about, or what circumstances do they want to shed light on that they are unable to talk about because of the limits of this cabinet confidence waiver. That being said, I agree with Chantal. This completely thwarted both of the Conservatives and the Liberals' campaigns on day one. The Prime Minister is in British Columbia this evening. He's going to be in Victoria tomorrow, holding a media availability. Probably the reporters there will not be asking about the policy announcements that the Liberals want to make. They will be asking about Jody Wilson-Raybould, whose writing is just, you know, across the water in Vancouver, Grenville, about what she has just said to the Globe. And so that will, again, mean that the Prime Minister is answering questions on things that he really is trying to, you know, with his short answers, starve him of oxygen. Yeah. And if we'll recall, like, when the Conservatives back in the spring started peaking, it was because of the SNC-Lavalin affair. And that's clearly where the Tories want to go. But it's interesting that, you know, Trois-Rivières was probably not the place that they wanted to have this conversation today for the Tories.
I'm not convinced. I
Yeah.
am not convinced at all that that is where the Conservatives either want to go or should go. Because if they were going to be able to grab back that peak moment that they had in the spring, it would have happened, or at least some form of it, when the Ethics Commissioner reported. I would also caution, and I guess the RCMP would caution itself about going about the crime thing, having watched the kind of catastrophe that the RCMP ran itself into with the Mike Duffy affair, where big words were also used only for egg to be on the face of the police. So yes, we can have this. I know that there are people in Ottawa who are saying, well, this is, becoming a conversation amongst people who are into this story. It could be that both the Liberals but also the Conservatives will be testing the patience of voters if that is where this story, along with the media, is going to take the election for the first week.
Okay, Andrew, last point, and then I'm going to change topics. Go ahead.
We heard that in the spring as well, and it didn't prove to be the case. It did actually seem to have legs. I think I agree that you don't, if the Conservatives, you don't want to spend all your time on this specific issue. No. But I think it has resonance beyond the details of SNC-Lavalin. It has issues, it has relevance and resonance with regard to the Prime Minister's personal credibility, and that can be very damaging to the Liberals. And it has also relevance and resonance when we're talking about one of the Tory messages, which is that somehow the system is rigged, the well-connected get ahead and you folks don't. It plays to that constituency as well.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to put that on pause. And really, the reason we're talking about it because it's in the headlines again. I don't know how long it's going to last any more than any of you. But another topic, which is also an important one that sort of took part of the first day of election, was Quebec's secularism bill, Law 21, Bill 21. Have a listen to what the three Conservatives, the Liberals, and the NDP had to say about that.
I have been watching very closely the process and considering the federal potential actions. And at this time, I feel it would be counterproductive for the federal government to engage in this process.
I've made my views on Bill 21 known. It's not something that our government our party would ever consider at the federal level.
I'm hoping that my presence in Quebec, as someone who clearly has a turban, has a beard, maybe some nice long hair as well, is a way to show people that, hey, listen, I believe in fighting for your identity.
So later today, the Quebec Premier Legault, called on all federal leaders to promise that they wouldn't be involved in any legal challenges. I'll start with you on this, Althea. Do you think that this is an issue that does have legs that we will keep talking about through the campaign?
Absolutely. I think this has the potential of being the niqab issue that we had in the 2015 campaign, whereas parties are forced, like I'm sure all the party leaders are going to be asked for their position, whether they would if they would leave the door open to appealing this, or if they would firmly shut it down, which we had previously heard from the Tories. I don't know if they still have that position or not, where sometimes the leader's position, you think you might know it in Quebec or in the rest of the country, and then you realize that the position is perhaps not what you thought. We saw that with Mr. Mulcair and the NDP candidates that were not singing from the same songbook, and that really hurt the NDP in 2015. I think that has the potential of hurting the Conservatives. Less so the NDP, but a big boost to the Bloc, which really believes that Ottawa should butt out. And the Prime Minister left the door open, which was smart tactically, I think.
I don't disagree that the Liberals' take on this today was probably the right place to be nationwide, but it's not necessarily a great day when you draw François Legault out to ask you to cease and desist on the first day of the campaign. Now, that being said, what Andrew Scheer did say in his news conference in response to questions that the Conservative government would not participate in the challenge of Bill 21. And Jagmeet Singh has insisted that he dislikes the bill intensely, and you heard what he had to say, but that he believed that it was the prerogative of the National Assembly. So far, it looks like the only one who has left the door open to participating eventually in a court case is Justin Trudeau.
And Andrew, does he have any choice but to leave the door open, given how he has presented himself on these issues in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I'm grading on a curve here, but he was by far the best response among the party leaders. It is to their collective shame that they have not been stronger on this. This is a real challenge to, I think, our moral identity as a people in Canada, that if we're going to sit by and simply say it's none of our affair, if any province decides they're going to essentially segregate their public service by religion and, let's be frank, also effectively by race, That is not something that we should really be tolerating as a country. Now, I grant that all of the leaders are tiptoeing around this because they want to win seats in Quebec and because it is popular in the province. But amongst them, at least the Prime Minister was willing to say, leave open the possibility of a federal intervention in this, and that was certainly better than nothing.
Okay, I'm going to leave with one thought from you all. I don't know if long, but whether there was something that surprised you today or something that you said to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to watch that closely. This is going to shape the next 40 days. Maybe it's this thing we talked about. Maybe it's not. Althea.
I thought that the Green campaign would be perhaps a little bit more professional off the top. They had their own curveball with comments from Pierre Nantel about whether or not he's a separatist and whether or not the the Green Party makes room for a separatist member of Parliament. And Ms. May's answer on that question was a bit wishy-washy and didn't align with what the party had said the day before. So,
yeah. Andrew?
I was struck by how weak both of Trudeau's and Scheer's response to the Globe story on SNC-Lavalin was. Granted, it came out last night, but that gave them several hours to prepare, and neither of them, I think, were particularly strong or impressive in their responses to it.
Chantal?
I thought that the NDP launch was on point and probably more of the kind of discourse that people would have expected from the Greens, the Conservatives, and the Liberals, who I thought wasted their launch. And looking at it from this province, I think the Bloc Québécois, not only by its own devices, but because of the others, had a great day.
Thank you all, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Before we go, be sure to subscribe to At Issue. Chantal has to come back. To At Issue, the podcast edition. Look for it on iTunes, any major podcast app, our website, cbcnews.ca/thenational. Also, every Thursday, you can check out Party Lines. It's the new CBC podcast featuring Elamine Abdelmahmoud and myself. We got a new episode out. We recorded today. It drops tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. And a little later this hour, we will take the voter's chair out to the 905.
Lots to look forward to. And up next on The National, Bianca is back.
Oh, Drake messaged me, by the way.
Yeah, not a bad welcome home for a champion. That story in 2 minutes.
Rabbit's story is a very common one.
There's two ways out. Either you get sober or you die.
This is dehumanizing.
Saving Rabbit.
Only the rich get treatment. There's an OD right now.
On CBC Docs POV, Thursday at 9.
For Bianca Andreescu, there's no place like home. The Grand Slam champion is back in Canada, looking forward to some rest and her next challenge. And as Devin Haru of CBC Sports tells us, she is also taking a little time to bask in her newfound stardom.
I'm so happy to be here. Yes. Hi, everyone.
She left as a teen for the U.S. Open, and today Bianca Andreescu is returning as Canada's tennis queen.
I've been getting more recognized than usual.
She's a face of tennis in this country now. New banners already up at Tennis Canada headquarters in Toronto, and she was a toast of late-night talk shows.
Is there anyone you haven't heard from yet?
Drizzy.
Yeah.
Champagne Poppy, I'm waiting for you.
And Drake was listening.
He's like, here I am, smiley face, congrats. We are all so proud of you.
It's been rock star treatment for the 19-year-old.
No need to go through customs or security.
For more than 30 minutes, she answered questions today, ranging from what she was listening to in the tunnel moments before the biggest match of her life.
I was listening to Hot Girl Summer by Megan Stallion, and it gets me pretty pumped up.
To if she's been thinking ahead to Tokyo.
Yeah, I've been thinking about playing the Olympics for a couple of years.
And what about a championship parade?
Yeah, why not? That would be really cool.
Andreescu even answered a question in Romanian,
Da, este foarte diferit.
her parents' first language. Global appeal taking the tennis world by storm.
Hopefully, after today, I can get a good night's sleep in my bed at home. There's really no place like home.
Only now, catching her breath. Devin Haru, CBC News, Toronto.
It is absolutely jaw-dropping to think how much Andreescu's accomplished in such a short period of time.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to crack the top 100, but I guess I have to start setting my goals a bit higher.
Keep in mind, she's only 19, already on top of the tennis world. So here's the question we had. What does it take to create a champion? That'll be the subject of our Friday night panel, featuring someone who knows firsthand. Canada's Olympic chef de mission for Tokyo 2020, Marnie McBean.
I think the thing that Bianca is really good at managing is clearly she has trained for adversity.
You don't want to miss it. That's coming up this Friday right here on The National. But Ian is next with more developing news, and later, the federal parties want your vote. So what are your priorities?
My name is Hashan Ranasinghe.
My name is Jessica De Silva.
My name is Jonathan Cox. My main concern is the First Nations. My main concern is Canada's response to climate change.
My concerns are financial stability.
I vote because representation is important.
I vote because it's my right to do so.
I want to make sure that they hear from people like me, too.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's Daily News podcast Front Burner, we talk about Margaret Atwood's brand new and much anticipated novel, The Testaments, and why this sequel to The Handmaid's Tale is so relevant in 2019. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to our national newsroom in Vancouver. Purdue Pharma has tentatively settled thousands of opioid cases, but the landmark legal issue is far from over. Roughly half of the states involved and more than 2,000 local governments have agreed to the deal, worth as much as $12 billion. The deal would have the OxyContin maker file for bankruptcy and require the Sackler family to give up ownership. But there are many states that are not close to reaching an agreement. The U.S. Coast Guard has issued a warning about charging lithium batteries following last week's deadly fire on a ship near California. The cause of the early morning blaze that killed 34 people hasn't been determined, but a document suggests the fire was possibly ignited by electronics being charged in the sleeping quarters. Officials say commercial boat operators should look to reduce potential hazards from lithium batteries, power strips, and extension cords on board. And memorials were held across the United States today, marking 18 years since the September 11th terrorist attacks. Hundreds gathering at the site where the Twin Towers once stood in New York City for a moment of silence and a reading of the victims' names. Another ceremony was held where Flight 93 went down. The President and First Lady attended a wreath-laying ceremony at the Pentagon, and Congress sang God Bless America on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. When we come back, it's your vote, so what's your priority? We hit the road with the voter chair. First stop, one of the most important battlegrounds in the country. Back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back to Parliament Hill here in the nation's capital. Isn't it beautiful? The federal election campaign is now officially underway, which means the parties have really about less than 6 weeks now to try and win your vote. And already we are hearing from Canadians from coast to coast to coast about the issues that matter most to them and their communities.
I'm Jim. I live in Rosetown, Saskatchewan. I've been farming here for 34 years. When I look at the candidates, I really kind of wonder if they truly understand the situation for grain farmers, as you know, it's cost us $4 billion so far.
I'm Leona Robertson. I live in Halkirk, Alberta. Our energy sector is not being utilized, and it's very hard on business.
Hi, I'm Jay Bowie, and I live in Halifax. The lack of health care professionals. People have been on the wait list for almost a decade now and still don't have a family physician.
My name is Dana Teja Tram. I reside in Old Crow, Yukon. Climate change is an extremely serious issue. This is the future of our country.
So that's just some of you talking, but we want to hear from more of you. So over the next 40 days, we are going to take our voters' chair across the country, asking you, Canadians, to take a seat and tell us what matters to you during this election. And tonight, we are in the belt of those communities around Toronto. We've talked about them before, known as the 905 after the area code. It has a history of picking the party that wins.
Can I open it?
What matters most to me in this election?
What matters most to me in this election is that I have the opportunity to vote for someone who is real, someone who understands the daily challenges of regular Canadians.
What matters most to me is that we find a government that stops spending money frivolously.
I would like a minimum wage to go up. This is going to be my first time voting, so when I'm voting for whoever I vote for, I hope that in the future their plan is to increase the minimum wage.
I don't come from a very rich family. My mom is a single mother who makes less than $50,000 a year. We live in a small apartment and it's hard to get by, so I really just would like a candidate who understands me and where I come from.
I think I'd like to see Mr. Trudeau leave. I'm not sure Andrew Scheer is the answer. I don't believe the NDP has the answers. And I know the Green Party is too focused in one area to have the answers.
I would vote for somebody that is for the people, which most politicians are going to say they are for the people. But somebody that's hardworking, honest, and that I can truly believe they stand for those qualities, because I don't think I've seen that.
What matters most to me in this election? To elect a leader who is going to be good to his word, who's going to look at the future of our young, to create a good world for them, a clean environment that they can walk out the doors and breathe.
That's it?
Okay, Nick, it's all yours.
If you don't want to wait for our chair to get to you, you can visit our virtual voters chair. It's up on Instagram. Follow CBC The National, click on our stories, and tell us what matters most to you in this election. Find out what other Canadians are saying. The Moment is up next. Stay with us. History was made last night in Manitoba when these 3 black MLAs won seats in the legislature. Until Tuesday's vote, no black person had ever been elected in Manitoba. Azuma Azagwara was amongst the 3 elected. She is the first black and queer person in the legislature there. And today she sat down and talked to CBC Radio in Manitoba, sharing what this win means to her. And that is our moment.
My presence is just a reflection of communities that have every right to be at the decision-making table. I hope to make sure that the work that we do really reflects communities that have been in Manitoba a very, very long time and have been underserved. Kids now who are growing up in Winnipeg, it will be their norm and their reality to see their politicians looking like them, and the importance of being a positive and constructive role model for young folks was not ever lost on me. And all kids in all communities will look at their elected officials and see all their communities represented and be excited to know they can aspire to that should they choose.
This is a great story, and it's a great story as we kick off our federal election campaign coverage, because it does remind you that the people you elect to these positions do a lot of things, and one of them is to be a role model to kids and other people.
And Rosie, it's a reminder of another thing, and that is, and you've seen it many times, the exuberance of people when they win for the first time, right? It is so exciting for them, and it washes away at least a little bit of the cynicism of politics.
Well, and for me, what underpins all of this is that federal elections, no matter the result, are inevitably important to different people for very different reasons. And so, day 1 down. Rosie, how many to go?
39. Just 39.
That's the National. Have a great night, folks.
Thanks.
Night.